B'Tvach Shavuot we are learning Mishna Nazir, Perek Tes, Chapter 9, Mishnah Gimel, Mishnah 3. Now this Mishnah that we're about to learn has nothing to do with Naziris. Nothing to do with it. It's actually because of the fact that the previous Mishnah used the term Raglaim L'Davar, which means that the matter has legs. There's a certain logic behind it. Because of that term, we now are going to bring in a subject unrelated to Naziris where that term is also used. Now, the Mishnah discusses finding a body buried in the ground where no one knew there was a grave. As a rule, a body may not be relocated once it has been buried. However, if it was originally buried in a place only temporarily, with the intention of later reburying it somewhere else, it may be moved. When a body is found in the ground where there is no cemetery, we do not know whether it was buried there with the intention of moving it later, or for some reason was forgotten, or whether it was buried with the intention that it remained there permanently. We don't know. There, the Mishnah teaches what should be done in this case. Okay? So you find this dead body, and basically, how do we determine whether it can be moved or not? So the Mishnah reads, if someone finds a dead body, betchila, at first, which means it is the first body found in the area. There's only one body. No other body has been found in the area. Mushkav kedarkai, and it was laid out in the normal way that Jews are buried. Now, they explain, in the times of the Mishnah, it was customary for Jews to be laid to rest on their backs with their hands folded over their chest. If the body is not flat on its back, we assume that it is the body of a non-Jew. In that case, it can be moved without following the rule stated in this Mishnah. Okay, so we're determining, is it a Jewish body or a non-Jewish body? The answer is the manner in which it is buried is going to determine that. Now, they bring here in brackets an interesting aside. Today, the custom is for the arms to be placed along the sides of the body, not over the chest. Meaning when Jews are buried, the arms are placed along the sides of the body, not over the chest, as was the practice in the times of the Mishnah.
And the Goyim? Who knows?
Who knows? But the point here is, the point is that it's interesting, like they talk about on the back, hands over the chest, but if the body is not flat on its back, let's say if it's not flat, what if it's flat and the arms aren't over its chest? Don't talk about that. But they talk about if the body is not flat on its back, that's how a non-Jew would have been buried. Okay, and therefore the details mentioned in the Mishnah wouldn't be relevant. You could just basically move it whatever way you want. Now, so we have a case where you find the mace laid out in the normal manner which Jews are buried. Noitlai vestivusasai. You can take it with the earth that's associated with it. That means the earth underneath the body that likely absorbs some of the fluids from the body and bury it somewhere else. This is because when a single body is found, it is not near other bodies. We assume that the area was not a cemetery and that the body was buried there with the intention that it would later be moved. And either you found it before they got a chance to move it, or it was forgotten. But the point is that you find one body, you can assume that it's not part of a cemetery, it was not there permanently. Now the Mishnah says you take it and the earth, which they could describe as associated with it. Okay, so on the bottom they say here, this consists of any loose earth beneath the body, as well as the solid earth underneath the loose earth to a depth of 3 fingers. All this earth should be reburied at the body in its new location. And as they said, they say here they explained it as this is the ground that likely absorbs some of the fluids from the body. So you go ahead and you bury it with that. So that's if you find one. The Mishnah continues, Masa Shnayim. Let's say you landed up finding 2 bodies, again in the same area. Again, Neitlan Vestivusasan. You take them, you remove them together with the earth that is associated with them, and you rebury them somewhere else. Okay? Now, the next part of the Mishnah is going to talk about matzah shleisha. What happens if you find 3? Now, if you find 3, it's going to become more complicated. Now, the reason it's become more complicated is because one has to understand how burial caves were set up. So I'm going to read it to you and I'm going to show you a picture.
Now this is the hole in the cave.
Well, one second. Right. Now, burial caves, okay? Now, again, burial caves typically measured, in the times of the Mishnah, people were buried in recesses dug into the walls of a cave. Okay, at a cave, and the wall there is recesses dug in which the bodies were inserted. Okay, now burial. Just to give the background here, burial, because we're just gonna go through the background and then we're gonna stop. Burial caves typically measured 4 by 6 amos. That was the cave. And bodies were buried in the walls on 3 sides of the cave. Okay? Buried in the walls on 3 sides of the cave. The 4th side of the cave opened into a courtyard. It was above ground. Right. Which measured 6 amos by 6 amos. On the opposite side of the courtyard, there would be another cave, in which more bodies were buried and which also measured 4 by 6 amos. Okay? Now, here's the picture. Okay, you see how you have the 4 by 6, you have the 4 by 6, you have the 4 by 6 amos of the cave. You have the 3, how do they call them? Recesses on the sides, right? And 2, because 3 sides, meaning they're using 3 sides of the cave for burial. So basically, on the longer side, you have 3 recesses. On the shorter side, you have 2 recesses. And then you have the opening to the courtyard. So you can already get a picture. How come when you find 3, things may change? Because when you find 3, you may have stumbled onto a burial cave. Now, apparently at this point of time, the burial cave got buried under dirt. But that's what you may have, stumbled upon, and that's going to be the next part of the Mishnah. Have a wonderful day. Good Tov, and an easy, meaningful fast.
Thank you, Rabbi.